Sorry to keep you waiting. So, how many of you have filled out all the sheets that were given to you? Okay, good. Okay. How many of you had those 5 customer conversations? Potential customer conversations? All the rest. Yeah, you have to have at least 5. This is not your college where you submit assignments, you copy, you bunk, all of that. Only those of you who attended all 8 sessions will get a certificate. Anybody who did not attend the session and missed one is going to not get a certificate. Doesn't matter. Okay? How many did you miss? The one last Thursday. Okay. If you informed earlier, then when I will probably consider that. You'll get that. As we said, this is not your college, and what you're trying to do is something that is real life. Many of you are, for lack of a better word, irresponsible and unaccountable because you have the support of your parents, unconditional love of your parents, which you don't recognize and you fight with them. But the only reason that you are able to go to college and actually do what you're doing and not take things seriously, right, is because of your family members. If your family members were not as supportive, if you were not as rich, then your life would be different. Of course, there are instances where some people who actually do not come from a wealthy background, but because their parents have spoiled them by giving them everything that they want and not really encouraging them to do their best, they have decided that they're going to behave like their rich friends in college and spend like their rich friends. And that means that sorry to say it out so directly, but that's poor parenting. If my parents gave me everything that I wanted, that I would have been probably doing some labor in terms of lifting bricks, transporting sand, whatever things like that, and not be in a position where at least I can share some insights with you. So, before I go and assume a lot of different things and start, I don't want to go down this line. Whatever 2 minutes that I took in telling you to your face that what you're doing is not something that you should bravely be looking at. Why did you not do the interviews? Or maybe I should go back to the first question that you asked when you came to this program. Why did you take this program? Why did you join the Ignite program? All of you, one after the others. Who wants to start first? Why did you join the Ignite program? I told you on day one, if this is how you're going to be You can drop all uh, dreams of ever being a entrepreneur, because that means that you are basically not you're not ready for you're not ready to open your mouth. How are you going to talk to clients? How are you going to talk to customers? How are you going to talk to your team members? How are you going to talk to your co-founders? How are you going to talk to your investors? How are you going to talk to anybody about what you're doing?
So I generally started this program out of curiosity, like more exploring.
Very good.
But now I can probably say that I have an idea,
Yeah.
the path to follow, and I would definitely work on it.
Okay.
And I have also learned how to make friends and made a good ones.
Well, yeah. Okay. Who are those friends? Those two. Okay. What's the point of having her as a friend? She never opens her mouth, she doesn't do any work. She comes, sits here regularly, attends, but she doesn't want to do any of the hard work that's necessary to go talk to people. She thinks that everything, like the BBA, right? The BBA gang over here. You go to your college with wearing jackets and all of that, and you feel really good about it, but what's the point? Others. What's your name? I forgot.
It's fun.
Spandana. So Spandana spoke. Use a pun in Telugu. Spandana స్పందించింది మిగిలిన వాళ్ళు ఎప్పుడు స్పందిస్తారు?
For know about entrepreneurship and behavior, how can we develop our idea? And,
Okay.
Even I thought that idea is not enough for real life business. There is some other sections also there. That's why I came up for London. How can I get a business experience?
Good. An idea is not enough. One of the most important things that a lot of people have, or primarily many people get stuck in, is with this thing that I have a great business idea, but unfortunately that great business idea is totally useless because the person who is not having that great business idea has nothing but I need to take the first step, I need to take the next step, I need to take the third step, and so on. Goes and sets up a pani puri stand, goes and sets up a muri mixture stand, goes and sets up something where the bare minimum amount of investment is necessary, and then they go from there. There used to be a chain of general stores, kirana stores and supermarket it started off in MVP and it spread to, they had 13 branches, MVP supermarket. And there's an interesting story that many people are not aware of. Those people who had started their MVP supermarket, and they have these 13 stores that they had created. When they first started, they came from one place of, ఇప్పుడు అసలు వాళ్ళు వినట్లేదు, వినని వాళ్ళకి ఇవ్వడం అనవసరం, తర్వాత నేను ఇస్తాను నాకు ఇచ్చి. sorry, I should rephrase that. They're not following it. Yeah, listening, yes, is happening. So there were three brothers. The elder brother came and set up a pawn shop. MVP at that time was a much smaller thing and it was just about starting, and he set up one pawn shop in the MVP main circle. There was one area that, Ilipatti. They would set up everywhere, right? Anytime there's some free area until somebody throws them out. So they set that up, and then about 1 or 2 years later, they moved across that to a house where their uncle was living. They converted the front of that house into a kirana store, and then, to a corner of that, they moved that pawn shop. And so the elder and the younger brother would run the kirana store, and now the pawn shop would be run by the brother in the middle. And they worked really hard every day, Monday to Sunday. And, it took them 2 decades. By the time, 2000, I'm talking 1982, 2000. By the time 2000 came along, they had a big MVP supermarket, a 4-story building. They had another supermarket. They had MVP stores, 12 of them. All put together, 13 stores plus one supermarket. And then they, I know them well, especially the one and the brother in the middle. So one day he asked me, so how much money are you making in your software career? Because I was in software and I was outside the country. And he said, at least a crore or 2 crores. I'm like, what? That's a number that I can't even imagine, even if you convert it into rupees. And I'm talking about when the rupee was about, by that time it increased to 40 rupees or so per dollar, right? And having 1 crore at that time, or earning 1 crore at that time, meant that you had to be, about $200,000 a year, or close to about $9,000 per month. Probably 1/4 of that was probably closer to the mark in terms of the earnings in salary. And and here was somebody sitting in Visakhapatnam, just working hard, having a pawn shop converted into a kirana store, into a departmental store or whatever. And they basically had, earned crores in terms of wealth that they've generated. And now almost all of them, first 2 brothers and then the third one, they've decided that all that hard work with all the e-commerce and other things coming in, and all the hard work when none of their next generation was interested in pursuing the same thing, didn't make any sense. So they wound up all of that and went off into, some of them went into a different business, and one of them is just enjoying retirement, early retirement. My point, you don't have to have a fantastic idea to be able to become an entrepreneur, become a startup and so on. Yes, a startup does require 2 major qualifications. I will come back to that. But your idea, my idea, anyone's idea is totally useless if you don't implement it. 2026, so yeah. A decade ago, we had listed about 100 ideas, out of which 34 were shortlisted, out of which we had said here are the 5 or 6 that are worth following. None of them took off. And so I'm not blaming you, right? At this point of time, whatever I needed to yell, or tell you, put a mirror in front of you, I have done that in the first 2 months. This is not about, saying anything bad about it. This is just something that I'm saying. This is what you need to remember, and this is coming from our personal experience. And I'm including the other people who are here, the facilitators, right? I'm including them also. We had other priorities, we had to take care of certain things, and so we picked one and we were going with that idea, and just spending time on any of these just did not, we were not able to spend any time. And so those ideas, some of them are totally useless now because either somebody implemented them or it's not necessary. But there are some ideas that still make sense. Unfortunately, we don't, they're useless even now because no action has been taken by us. So, just because somebody has more experience than you, somebody has more knowledge maybe in certain areas than you, does not mean that somehow they're better than you. And I am never going to claim that I'm better than you. Many of you are probably 5-10 times better in so many different ways. What I can claim is what I know. This is what I'm going to share with you, and what we are sharing with you is hopefully what you're going to use moving forward. Right? So, having an idea by itself is not enough, and you need to move forward, and I've told you that. So before I go to the others, Spandana and Kaushik. Now that Spandana and Kaushik spoke, I'll go to the others, but before that, what's the difference between any regular business and a startup?
Regular business is already a solution that exists. But startup makes some solution that's problem faced by their customers.
Yeah.
The experience.
No. Foresight. I told you this right in the beginning. Many of us would have told you. Why do you call a startup a startup? Because if I start a pawn shop or a pani puri stand, I just started it, so that's also a startup. If you say anything that you start is a startup.
So there is no creativity or innovation. No creativity or innovation.
No innovation. Right? Very good. So, one is there is no innovation. A startup is something where you are looking at something that you are doing as an innovative. And don't ask him how will he know. If he knew, he would have told me. Tell me.
Design thinking.
No. Design thinking is something that you can use in any business. Of course, if you use it in startup, startup ideas might come up with something even better, but we talked about examples also. What are some examples of startups that you know?
Business run over time, like startups at a particular time, they open and they close.
Okay.
But startup is not like that.
How? Why? They don't close? or they don't open?
I mean,
90% of startups in India it takes a lot longer to close, but 90% of startups fail. Uh, and actually, in other countries, for example, the US, 90% of uh, 9 out of 10 businesses that start businesses, not even startups, go out of business in the first 1 year. Or rather, 60% go out of business in the first 1 year, 75 in the second year, about 90 by the third year. But the advantage that they have is that so many businesses are starting every year that the number of the 10% that succeed, every year you're talking about 10% that succeed. So therefore, you have a large number. We have a large number of startups that are now starting, but mostly they're on paper because they're not doing the things that are necessary, and many of them don't want to learn. They say, okay, we'll do it on our own, and we'll try out things. One big challenge, many challenges that are there, one of them happens to be that most of the people who start businesses, by the way, happen to be from the engineering background, at least in India, and at least in this region from what I understand, it might be across India, because a lot of technology is involved. We only try to do tech startups, we don't do science, and we don't do so many other innovative processes. That is where your program of study should become useful if you are taught properly. But the engineering people, the huge disadvantage that they have is they don't know anything about finance. Without knowing finance, lifeblood of your business, startup or regular business, how will you even think about succeeding? So, okay, so what are the startups that you know? Nykaa, okay. Zomato, Rapido, okay. So, Rapido, Zomato, let's take those two. Are they innovative?
Including both features.
Not talking about features. Features does not mean innovation. Are they innovative? Yes or no? No, sir. Why not? If yes, why yes? If not, why not?
What they offer is faster delivery. It's more of
You don't have to move it from your house to eat. Okay, that's your argument for yes, it's innovative. And your
what they're offering is it's just faster delivery. So there is nothing innovative about it.
why wasn't it available 20 years ago?
Please, like if you take Kirana shop is actually it's obviously faster.
That's not how it works, right? Zomato can get something to you from 4 or 5 kilometers away in 30 minutes.
This is
How? Why?
because they are improving the speed of delivery day by day. They are working on the progress to reach more customer base.
Yeah. Let's not look at the daily improvement or weekly improvement or monthly or annual improvement. I'm talking about the general idea. If you have a general idea of a startup, where you're saying Zomato or Rapido, you have a general idea of a startup, and is that innovative? Is what we are looking at, right? From Zomato, Rapido, you can look at take up other examples also. We don't need to limit ourselves to only those two, but since many of you understand those two. So, yes or no? Innovative, yes or no? Okay. So, the reason why it's innovative is because you need to understand innovation, not the definition of innovation, but what does innovation mean. And because the definition of innovation will come from people who know patent law and a lot of different things related to that. But for our purposes, our sake, if you are able to do something faster, right, cheaper, or in some other way better, then you are doing something that you can consider that even if the business process has improved, you've come up with a way to improve your business process, that's innovation. Okay? So, in cricket, for example, tennis, let's take tennis because I think Wimbledon is happening as we speak. When you have tennis, now, earlier people would go and basically practice with some other partners and also practice by hitting against a wall and do a lot of practice based on that, and obviously you have coaches who are going to tell them hit the ball this way, defend this way, pick up this way, run this way, all of these other things. And you have now, mental coaches, mental conditioning, so that you improve the way that you're tackling every point. So, I read in a couple of places that the difference between the #1 ranked player in tennis and the 100th ranked player in tennis is like, from a skill perspective and even from a practice perspective, it's negligible. It's literally nothing. But the difference between them is how they approach the game in their head and how they handle the pressure, how do they respond to each point, and so on. Roger Federer gave a speech at one of the universities a couple of years ago, and that is when he talked about it. He asked them, do you know how many points I won, the percentage of points that I won in my entire career, lifetime? Until Djokovic ended up, getting more of the, cups, right? He was the one with the largest number of victories in the Grand Slam, the 4 tournaments that are there. And he asked the students, do you know how many points I won, percentage of points that I won in his lifetime? And you know what his answer was? Can you guess? Guess? 60. That's low, okay. Any other guesses? 52. 52. Out of every 100 points that he played, he won only 52 points. And yet the difference between him and other, top ranked players happens to be he's got 21, I think, Grand Slam titles versus many others who probably have 1 or 2. And his point is the way that I think about something. When I lose a point, I'm not concentrating on that point and worrying about that point. I'm actually concentrating on the next point. I've moved on. I can't do anything about that point now. They will go back and analyze it later and see how to play that point in the future if that happens. But as of now, I need to win this match, which means that what do I have as an opportunity? The next point that's coming, the serve that's coming at me or the serve that I'm making. Right? So, by the way, that's just because I wanted to share a little bit of insight. But they came up with this idea of a ball, an automated machine that throws the ball at you like it's coming at a very fast pace, kind of like the cricket ball thing also. So you end up practicing at greater and greater speed so that when the ball comes at you at a high speed, you know how to handle it because you build up muscle memory, right? So once that came up, they were able to do a little bit more. And then, small changes in what they're looking at goes and improves your ability to do something because you innovated. Until one person called Roger Bannister came up with this idea of running a mile within 4 minutes. Until he ran a 4-minute mile, people felt that it was impossible to complete a mile race in 4 minutes. And this man was the first one who broke that record. And now, of course, people are doing it in less and less, 3 minutes, whatever number of seconds. But he was the first one who did it. And how did he do it? One of the methods that he followed is that in addition to his regular running, he found out that running a steep incline, a hill kind of a thing, running over there, improves your speed and your capacity and so many other some factors that he mentioned, I forgot. And that's an innovation that helped him go and beat everybody and beat the 4-minute mark. So don't look at innovation as something that needs to happen as an Apple, iWatch or touch screen thing. Innovations happen in processes also. And the innovation that's happening with Zomato happens to be that now that you're used to it, you don't look at it and say it's not innovative. But the fact that the food is being delivered to you very quickly, which you did not have before, and the fact that you could choose from multiple options, which you did not have before, and the fact that you can try different cuisines, you can try it at different price points, you can get discounts. All of those made it easier, and therefore what is the big solution? What is it that they're solving? What is the problem that Zomato is solving? Swiggy, Zomato, whoever. What is they solving? No.
The time on traveling is
Very good. ఈ తెలుగులో వెళ్ళి బయట జనాలతో కూడా మాట్లాడితే it would be a lot more effective than just using your head here, not putting it into action. Anyway, very good. 2 out of 2, not bad. Basically, they say it's solving the problem of time. I don't have time to cook. I have to go quickly to the class. I have to go home and I am tired. People are waiting. So I order. Sometimes you order while you're on the way, and then by the time you reach, it reaches there, and therefore you have your food ready to eat and so on, right? So there is innovation that is happening there. Rapido, by the way, some of these other companies, many of the companies have been copying. They haven't really innovated. They just copied from somebody. Ola just copied from Uber. And Flipkart just copied from Amazon. as I've said before. So they're not really innovating, but they're bringing something that was innovative, that has been used outside the country, into our country. And that is also valid if you're able to execute it and if you're able to make it happen. It's perfectly okay for you to copy, not in your exams. Over here, it's perfectly okay to copy, right? But copying, you need to do it effectively. And I gave you this example last time also. If you copy from a friend who doesn't know what they are writing, you're being crazy. You obviously have to copy from somebody who studied and can do something effectively, right? So, when Ola and Uber were busy trying to get the taxis and cabs into everybody's usage so that many people started using them, there were a few people who decided that they're going to bring auto rickshaws and bring them onto a platform. One of my friends in Bangalore actually started off and they ran a startup that was doing auto rickshaw, and they were able to get some traction, and I think they sold it off. I don't know whether it's for a huge profit or small profit, but they were able to one of these guys acquired them. And that's therefore Ola and Uber started adding auto rickshaws as a service. Now Rapido came and then said, okay, I'll do two-wheelers. And the reality happens to be, by the way, that with the government rules that are there, there's a definition of a transport vehicle. And your transport vehicle, that's why all the cabs that you see, the auto rickshaws that you see, the license plate is different. It has the yellow color with the black letters, because this is meant for transportation. And that is why regular vehicles will not have that. They just have a white background and black letters, official ones. But these guys don't do that. Okay? They have to follow certain rules that are written by the RTO. The Rapido founders decided that they'll still go ahead and do this two-wheeler rides. How they overcame that challenge of somebody stopping them is something that I still do not know the answer. But I'm sure that there is some, for a while they figured out some workaround. No, I don't think that's Jugaad. I think that's a straightforward thing that we've had in our country for at least 5 decades, if not longer, So, you understood, right? Okay. If you didn't understand, you didn't understand. You heard of the phrase under the table? That is what I was signaling. So, when you go to many government offices and you need to get work done, and you need to apply some grease, they call it greasing of the palms. And our GVMC is fantastic at it. Many other organizations, but so Rapido went and said, why not do two-wheelers? Because everybody has two-wheelers and some of them are riding from here to there anyway, so they'll probably offer a ride. And they got started. Now if you look at it, you'll go and ask, so what's the big innovation that Rapido did? They did something that people did not consider even, and they stopped because, by the way, one of the other things. So somebody like me would never touch that, because I'm going to say, oh my God, it's against the rules of the government, it's against the you know, RTO guys will do this person will stop me, that person will stop me. What about accidents happening? This, that, all of these things. The advantage that all of you have over somebody like me is that you don't know most of them. And two, you, even if you know, you're going to say, I'll figure out a way. You're not going to be like, no, 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 I need to follow the rules, I need to follow this, and therefore I need to do this. And therefore, they were able to innovate, right? But as I said, innovation is one thing in startups. What is the other one? Why did I bring up Zomato and no? Where did Rapido start? Finally. What does that mean? Expanding a service, you would have said expand. Why use the word scaling up?
Each wider or wider percentages.
That's expansion. Why you call it scaling up? What is the difference between just expansion versus scaling?
Expansion means only targeted customers in the space. Scaling up means they will include other customers and implement some other.
Yes, a little bit of that, but no, there's a much simpler answer. By the way,
Idea can be scaled.
I'm asking you what is scalable and you're saying the idea can be scaled. You're giving answers like the BBA and MBA people. What is socks? Socks is socks, socks can be socks, socks will be socks, and therefore socks is socks. Vaiva Harsha's Artpak Karelpak answers that he gave. These schools are famous for, notorious for it as a matter of fact. By the way, that also you can explain with using the word expansion. That also in a one meaning would have expansion as a word in the meaning. The only thing is it's not just expansion. This is bad. We are in the last session. If you are afraid of answering and being wrong in the last session also, that means that we have failed. You're not the failure. I am the failure. Because if after 7 sessions, in the 8th session, if you're still afraid that if I give an answer and I'm wrong, what happens? That means that we did not give you the courage to answer without any fear. By the way, did we ever, scold you or punish you or say anything to you because you gave a wrong answer? Deepak, Kiran, I. Okay, then why? What was it? No, that's what they're also saying. More customers, wider base, greater reach. No, something else. They started off in a specific area, and then they expanded. That is right. But there's something else that they did than just expansion.
Okay.
Say it. No, we talked about innovation already. I'm not talking about innovation anymore. The difference between a regular business and a startup is innovation and what? And scaling up. What does scaling up mean? How is it different from expansion?
So for expansion, we don't count and do it. We will go. If we want to improve, enlarge our business, we will expand it. But scalability means we have that need and
No. It's not about that. Where did Rapido start? Where did Rapido start? Yeah, where?
bank.
No. Look it up. Your phones are there. It's Andhra Pradesh. As far as I remember. Search. Where did it start and when did it start? They did? Okay, I was wrong. And next? 2015. After that? After that? Where is Rapido available now? All over India. Right. So they started in Bengaluru, Karnataka, and from Bangalore they are now all over India. And they've been all over India, what, this year or last year or the previous year? At least 2 years ago? At least 2 years ago. So from 2015 to 2014, in 9 years, they went from starting in Bangalore to all over India. So, is that a scaling up? And that is, do you call that expansion? Or do you call it something else?
Narrow foundations.
Scaling up.
I know, scaling up only, but what does that mean?
They only actually focus on increasing the without thinking about profit or loss.
No, that's a different strategy. That's a different idea. It's not about scaling up. That's a different idea. You're basically, we'll talk about it. Just remind me in another 1 minute. Okay. So, I told you about the MVP story, MVP supermarket story. From 1990, 1980, maybe 82 or so, till 2002. In 20 years, they went from one pawn shop and one kirana store into 13 kirana stores, including one big supermarket, right? So it took them 20 years, but they were still in Visakhapatnam. Rapido started in 2015 in Bangalore, and by 2024, less than 9 years later, they are available all across India. What's the difference? Yeah. So what? What do you call that expansion? They're scaling up on it, but what kind of expansion is that? In 20 years, one business in Visakhapatnam grew to a large business in Visakhapatnam. In 9 years, one business in Bangalore grew to an all India business. So they expanded, but they expanded what? Okay, not really exponentially, but something a little less than that. They expanded rapidly. Scaling up is rapid expansion. Okay?
She already has the
I know.
points.
I know, I heard her, but she didn't say it loud enough for me to understand whether she said it or not. And that's what I keep telling you from day one. The difference between you and somebody else who's succeeding out there is that other person is not afraid of failure. You are afraid. What is he going to say? What are my neighbors going to say? What's the rest of the class going to say? You are forever in that fear of other people. And one small secret that I want to share with you. Nobody cares about you. Sorry, I mean your parents and your family, they love you. But generally, when you are somewhere and when you are wherever, literally nobody is watching you and nobody cares about you. You are not a superstar. Where people have a fan following and therefore wherever you go, they are taking pictures and asking selfies and so on. So, the first thing that you need to lose is that self-consciousness and ego, that something, you're losing out on something. I mean that somebody is watching, so I should be careful. And if I say something wrong, they will not be impressed. Stop living your life to impress other people. Live your life for yourself. That's my secret. There is no secret really. So when you look at the idea of the difference between you doing something and not doing something, having just an idea by itself is totally useless. But 90% of the startups fail because they have not validated their idea. A larger number of people will succeed, a larger number of startups will succeed if you are able to validate your idea. Before Zepto became this big, national thing, and they just happened to burst into the scene, Blinkit and Zepto burst into the scene only a couple of years ago. And now many, especially women, who do all the work at home, they find that Blinkit and these guys are like a huge savings is because they were first started off and went and checked around and said, hey, will you, what are you struggling with? Would you consider buying items if they're available to you quickly? Something that they did after a little bit of earlier, before they did that,
WhatsApp.
one of the things that they did was they went to WhatsApp and then they said, they created some kind of a group or a number and apparently asked people, send us your order and they will deliver it as quickly as possible. And they figured out how to get something there within the shortest amount of time. They did route maps, they did the items that are typically asked for, all of these things, and then they went and built the app and built got money and started doing this. But initially they started off with nothing but WhatsApp. That's all. And so your job, the reason why we are taking 8 sessions to do this is because you should also validate your idea. Once you validate it, you can become like a really big company like Zepto and Blinkit and Amazons and Flipkarts and Nykaa and everything else. Once you figure out that your idea is valid, okay? And one point that you had mentioned earlier that I want to bring up, many of these companies, they're able to sell their story to the investor. To investors who come and say, I have money, I'll give you money, they're able to sell their story to investors and say, I am willing to sell this to you. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Swiggy is still losing money. Zepto, Blinkit, all of these people, Instamart, all of them are losing money. But yet there are companies that are giving them, oh, you're losing money? Here, another 5,000 crores, another 300 crores, another 10,000 crores, another I don't know, whatever number of hundreds and thousands of crores are being given to them. And then you would look at that and say, oh, I wish somebody gave me 1 crore. You know, my business, I will run my business, or I am losing business, but now I will become profitable. The reason why they don't give it to you and me, when we are going and asking for 1 crore or 2 crores, is one, we've never told them a nice story. How big and how great this is. The second thing happens to be that when they are not looking at, are you profitable now? Earlier, when investors would put money, they'd only invest in profitable companies. Over the past 15 years or so, maybe 20 years, that changed into, I don't need you to be profitable, I need you to continuously grow your customer base. From 1 customer to 100 customers to 1,000 customers to 1 lakh to 1 crore. And you just expand rapidly. And now you have this huge customer base. So I can do a lot of things to that customer base, with that customer base. For example, Swiggy and I'm sure Zomato, if you go and book something, earlier they used to just show you a map and say your item is here, it will be picked up and delivered to you here. Now before you book something, there is one small advertisement that's popping up. You want to get a credit card. After you book something, the map is only occupying 1/3 of the screen. The rest of the screen is advertisements. So now they're advertising, and all these advertisers, they're telling those advertisers, I have an audience of 20 crores, 50 crores. You want your advertisement to go out to them? Sure. So they found another way of making money. And that's how the investors are saying, I can make money this way. Okay? So, one of the things that you need to do when you're going and saying, okay, I want to do a startup and I have an idea and I have a validated idea. You need to pitch, you need to present your idea to people who are going to ask you. You're going to pitch to them for multiple reasons. Why would you present your idea to somebody? What are the reasons why you would do a presentation, a pitch as they call it? You pitch for
Support.
what kind of support?
Financial support. So
You pitch for money. You pitch for mentorship. Okay? And yeah, sometimes very early on you would pitch to validate. We have the Startup Saturdays meetings. So we invite people who have an idea to come and present their idea. You get I think up to 7 minutes or maybe even 10 minutes slot to do that. And we even have when you don't have a validated idea, we have a open mic. 1 minute. In 1 minute, tell us what you're thinking about. what business idea are you thinking about? And somebody will tell you, did you think about this, did you think about this, what about this, what about that? And just that feedback that you get from them is enough for you to go and say, okay, from here I'm going to build something, or I'll take that input and I'll change my idea, improve my idea, right? So another reason is for validation. What other reason could there be? Why would you present your idea to people? Similar to what she said, feedback. What is the reason?
To tell them what they are going through.
That you're already telling them, but they should, what, you want to get something out of it, right? So you're going to get something like, maybe somebody will say, hey, I like your idea, I know more something about this field, I'm willing to mentor you. Somebody might come and say, I like your idea, I'll give you money, investors. Somebody might say, hey, your idea, you haven't considered this, this and this, so some sort of a validation. So those three, plus what are the reasons?
To make teams or networking anyway.
No, networking will happen later, but what do you mean to make?
Similar minds. What they think about the idea, similar minds, and if you
No, but you're almost over there. You can find co-workers, co-founders. Somebody else says, hey, I was also thinking about this. Or, I love your idea and I'd like to be a part of it. Let's do this together. So you can find the co-founder. And sometimes, a lot of times, having a co-founder is very useful because you can throw ideas at one another, discard some of them. If your co-founder is good, you have a great, bigger chance of doing better. The co-founder is great, your chances of succeeding are even higher. So one is the co-founders. The other part is in terms of the word team that you mentioned. Maybe you'll find people who'll say, hey, I'm looking to do something. Can I join your company as an intern? Or are you looking to employ somebody? I will become your finance person. I will become your technology person. I will become this, sales person. So maybe you will find team members that you can hire or interns that you can hire. So you pitch to find co-founders, you pitch to find, team members, potential employees. You pitch to find, to validate your idea. You pitch to get money, right? And you pitch to get mentors. Okay? Now, since we have come to the end of the program, the Ignite program, one of the things that you should be looking at is preparing a pitch about your idea. Okay? So for you to pitch that idea, there are certain things that you need to look at. So we'll talk about those things, and then we'll work on your pitches, so that by the time we close today, you will have a pitch ready. So one, we'll cover your pitch. Then we'll talk a little bit about peer and mentor feedback and what can happen. We probably won't have the time to do this. We should have prepared you ahead of time, but we'll at least cover a few aspects in there. And then, we'll also talk about validation, what it actually means, to make sure that you understand what we discussed over the past 7 sessions, and make sure that you didn't forget. And then there is this proto run that is going to happen as a follow-up to this. Once you have a validated idea, you need to change that validated idea into an MVP or a prototype, minimum viable product or a prototype. So that is where the prototype will come in. There is an IE cell that's being started, and of course this particular location plus a bunch of other things that are there. And then, yeah, we'll also look at your validated idea, a brief about it, a summary. So this is what you need to cover in your pitch. What is your problem? You know, whose life is harder with this problem? And you need to make sure that people are clear about it. So one of the things that was pointed out, that's something that I've been thinking for 20 years now. And he's actually trying to look at that problem and say, okay, what do I do with that? Is, you want to share?
Regarding the drivers.
There's only one, right?
So I'm trying to solve two problems basically. So it's regarding the pain of the vendors, how like they carry the whatever equipment they have in a way that it may cause them damage in the long term. So I'm trying to focus on that. And also the most important problem is the hygiene of the food. So vendors of the railways, they usually offer, like, they sell these snacks in a very unhygienic manner. So because of that, a lot of people tend to not buy the food when they are traveling in trains, and they only prefer to buy from either Swiggy, Zomato, or they make it at home and bring it with them. So I'm trying to think about think for a solution regarding that, and I came up with something, but there is a legal boundary to that.
So, that's what he mentioned, right? Some of you might have figured out what he is trying to do. How do you make it more vivid? Okay? More vivid means something that people can imagine and therefore quickly catch on and say, oh, I totally understand what you're talking about. Okay? How many of you over here did not travel on a train? So, can everybody here has taken a train journey somewhere or the other? Yes? No? Move a little bit, raise your hands. Never traveled in a train? See? There is somebody there. So for the rest of you, wow. You're not from this country? So, for those of you who travel in a train, when you are, you see these vendors coming through saying, chai, chai, garam, garam chai, and they're carrying this in a container, this big container with a tap at the bottom of the container. And they take the container, and when you stop them and say, give me one chai, the tea will go. What do? They take the container, the whole train is full, so they put it between their legs and they put a cup, near the tap, open the tap, close it, and then carry the container and hand it over to you. Imagine, hot, really hot containers that you're putting and holding on with your legs, bending over this way, trying to make sure you're not spilling anything, and carrying that container with you from one place to the other until it becomes lighter and lighter. Now imagine if there was a easier way of doing this, so that that person did not have to, hurt their back by doing something like that. That's the problem he's trying to solve. The difference, right? Hopefully, if you understood, if you agree, you can of course disagree. The difference is, what he said was abstract. What I told you was a demonstration of what you all see, and therefore you were imagining that train journey and saying, yes, I saw this is what happened, and so on. Right? So, I don't want to go into the second one because he's looking at he's being ambitious and trying to do two problems at the same time. And I'm trying to tell him that, figure out and solve one. Because trying to solve two problems at the same time is not such a good idea unless you can merge both of them into one solution. And the challenge that he is talking about is not that there is two, it's not like there is one solution for everything. There is one solution for the chai wala, right? But there is a different solution for that samosa wala. The guy selling you samosas has to have a different container. Not the one that's liquid coming out of it, but something where the samosas can be carried in a different manner. Otherwise, they're putting it in the milk cart, sometimes tying a rope and dragging the rope on the ground while they're going from one place to another. Within a short span of time, the plastic around it starts breaking, and they start putting tapes around it to stop the plastic from breaking. Lots of things like that, right? And now a third one happens to be the person selling newspapers. And the fourth kind of vendor could be somebody who's going and saying that I'm going to sell packets of buttermilk and curds. Each of them has a different solution. Now, if you had one that you're solving, that by itself is a big thing. Now you're solving for multiple people. And on top of that, you're saying I'll also make a solution regarding hygiene. I'll make it hygienic. So now basically you have gone from 4 or 5 different solutions that you need to bring into hygiene in each of those. So you're talking about probably a square of that rather than just 5 into 2. It's not this and this. You can just give it back to him now. Oh, that. So this is what I mean by making it vivid. Okay? You need to make sure that your customer feels that pain. You need to make sure that the person is not your customer, your audience feels that. So, Kaushik solving this problem of plastic waste. Going and telling people, have you ever visited any of the beaches in our country and noticed that there's a lot of waste near the water? You see all these beautiful beaches in other, on TV and reels and other things all over the world. But when it comes to Indian beaches, when you go to the beach, you find that many beaches have a lot of this waste that has been come up on the shore. Wouldn't you love to have a solution for that? That's how you're going to make people understand and relate to you, and then from there they're starting to listen to you a lot more seriously than if you just said, I would like to eliminate plastic waste. How many would like to join? Yeah, it's the same thing that you and I have said, but the way that you said it is going to be different. Okay, you need to connect with your audience. And don't go and say, some general customer. You don't go and say some general customer. You actually go and say something like, there is this person, I happened to talk to Venkaya, And Venkaya is a vendor of tea on the railway station platforms and inside trains. And I noticed that he was carrying his tea container with great difficulty. And serving was also difficult, and you explain it with the way that I showed you. And then people are like, okay, this person is talking about a specific customer that he talked to, she talked to, and therefore I'm connecting with that. Okay? And then what is your solution? What is your solution? How do you address it? Of course, if you don't have a validated idea, your solution may not even be a decent solution, but hopefully you will have some kind of a solution that you would present and say, this is how I'd like to take care of this. And most importantly, what real people did you talk to and what did they tell you? What are the surprises? Remember we talked about it last week on Thursday. What are the surprises that you had? And if there is one thing that you still don't know, make sure that you mention that. I talked to 20 people. I found out this, but I still don't know how do I clean up the plastic that comes. If I get clean plastic, I can recycle it. Water bottles, some kind of wrapper that I'm getting, I can clean that up. But if that is mixed with some, it's contaminated, how do I clean it up? What do I do with the waste? And how do I clean it up? That's a question that I still have. Then people are going to say, this person is honest, this person is genuine. They are seriously thinking about this problem and going forward. Okay? Okay, let's take a break and we'll assemble in another 5 minutes. Since you had me missing out for half an hour, we will take a shorter break because we need to also do this. I'll quickly cover this and then we'll continue. After the break. No idea about it. Okay. Okay. When? Okay. We don't know yet. But it will be somewhere not here without campus. So less than a kilometer away. Probably tell you by tomorrow. Some of you have been disqualified. Maximum of 10. Worst case, if we feel that we need to get some more people, then we try to look at it. I don't know. All of you applied only after the 28th, right? Everybody called Mohit? Ritesh? disqualified. At least I can tell you that. Harsha, Sharma? Ramesh? Preeti? Vivek? Pravalika? Okay. So if your name did not get called out, that means that you will not get disqualified. We will announce that tomorrow. The top 10, maybe 9 p.m. tomorrow. If not, by noon on Saturday. I didn't call your name, right? Did you put your name as the team leader? If I didn't call your name, that means you're safe. It's not, you're not selected for the finals. At least you're not disqualified. All the others' names that I called out, I asked you to give an open link, and people still came and submitted a link with that could not be accessible. So if we can't see your presentation, I can't really ask our judges to score it. So our judges are scoring it, including one person who's sitting in a really senior, an accomplished person sitting in San Francisco or Silicon Valley. He's also looking at these ideas. So hopefully, what he presented is something that he is impressed. There are other people also who are judges. There are 3 judges that are working on this screening committee. No break? Should we just go ahead and continue? You don't want to get up and stretch your legs? Okay. By the way, I don't know if you know, but the restrooms are behind the curtain near the entrance. Please keep the restrooms clean. Remember to flush. Hello? Hi. That's fine. అదే చాలా సేపు నేను అప్పుడు సాయంకాలం మీటింగ్ అయింది కనిపెట్టిన వాళ్ళతో బయట paper is better than education minister is happily sitting with this because the prime minister will not hold him accountable. The prime minister will not hold himself accountable. He wants human to go and do sacrifices, but he won't do anything on his own. Because he doesn't care about them. So he knows that nothing can be done by others because certain things are there that he protect. So therefore, there are companies that are still investing in these, despite the fact that it's illegal because this is not, they feel that they could, there's another reason, they could actually go with this whole thing and use the same technology, use the same system, and use it outside the country. See, UK does not ban betting as long as there's a legal betting. They have lots and lots of betting apps on it. So these people can make money over it. That could be a reason. Also. Yeah, there's one meeting that's happening at TIS, that's happening tomorrow, where we have a bunch of these persons who want to, no, Aspen is something that's happening at a different time. This is something that's happening, quantum is happening from 11 to 1 on Saturday. I'm talking about tomorrow. Tomorrow from 4:30 to I'll see if I can send this to the group so that we can make it on there. So otherwise you can take a picture and just gather there. This one actually is talking about what you're asking. But they're not going to give you a chance to pitch your idea. But they will, there are other things that happen. Startup Saturday usually has a bunch of these things. So when something like that is happening, you can try. let's start. Otherwise, we'll be here till 1:30. So when it comes to feedback that you want to give to other people, and you want to get feedback from your peers, and whether you want to get feedback from somebody like me, let's say you're a mentor, there are certain things that you need to follow. And one of the things about giving feedback, because one of the things that I've observed over 20 plus years of training happens to be that most of the participants in training programs do not know how to give feedback. And one of the typical things that happens, by the way, is, they say the feedback that we get orally is, this is fantastic. We've never had a session like this before. But then when you're asked to give feedback in the feedback form, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say, with 5 being excellent, you always give a 4. And my question is, against what are you comparing this to be able to say that this is what is better than this that you know for you to give 1 less than excellent? Right? I'm not saying you have to give excellent to a training program that needs to be given, but orally you have said this is excellent. But when you're given a feedback, you're going and saying, yeah, it could have been better. Because as Indians, we don't want to actually give full marks. Like your parents. You got 99 out of 100 and the parents are asking, why did you not get 100? Why did you lose that 1 mark? You are also picking up the same thing. You blame them, but you are doing the same thing. So when it comes to feedback, make sure you tell people what is it that was really interesting, that was really compelling, something that moved you, something that touched you, something that was really good, and be specific about that, right? And then one of the things that many times we do is that we give advice, and most people don't know how to mentor. And therefore, rather than asking questions to help you go and solve something on your own, we try to give you suggestions saying, do this, and so on. If I am solving the problem, what are you there for? It's your idea. You are the one who needs to figure out what to think about and what to solve. If you are unable to think about something, then it's my job to ask you the right questions so that you understand, and in case you're going off track, in case you need to go learn something, you will figure that out. And whatever it is, we need to focus on, did you understand the problem clearly? Did you understand this customer, this specific customer? Do you have good quality evidence? Is this a feasible idea? Okay? And rather than give lots and lots of suggestions, one good suggestion is better than just quantity. Last but not the least, be kind, be honest, obviously do both. There are a lot of people who are, either too rude and they say that's a stupid idea, or they're not looking at honesty. Yeah, very good, go ahead. Just because they don't want to tell you the truth, that look, you have to put in the work that's necessary. You going and imagining something is not going to really help. The problem that I was talking about in terms of the railway station, right? I've been observing this for 20 years. There should have been somebody, and this has been going on for 30, 40 years. There should have been somebody who figured out a solution by now. But why did they not figure it out? What is it that is stopping them from figuring that out? And you would look at that. When you're receiving feedback, one of the things that happens almost all the time is you immediately jump to give a solution, to give an excuse. No, but forget that. You're not listening to reply and react. You're listening to understand and observe. And even if it's something that is tough, suppose I tell you, hey, that's a really bad idea. You have two options. You can listen to me and then say, yes, it's right, he is right, it's a really bad idea. Or two, listen to me and say, he is wrong. I'll ignore him and go ahead with my idea. You don't need to react at that time and say, no, you're wrong, or you did this and you didn't do that. Because your job is not to convince me. Your job is to figure out whether you're on the right track and if the feedback is helping you or not helping you. Right? Now, everything that you are being told, write it down. Because you'll forget most of the things that are being said. If I ask you, what did we discuss before the break? What is your answer? You'll at most remember 1 or 2 points. I spoke for 1.5 hours. You interacted in the middle with a little bit. But if I ask you, tell me what you remember from this past 1.5 hours, you will barely be able to remember 1 or 2 things. And that is now. Once you finish this and you step out, it's going to get a lot worse. Right? So writing things down is something that needs to be done, that needs to happen. You don't have to agree with what I tell you. You don't have to agree with what your peers are telling you. They're telling you what they think. There's no reason for you to agree with them. But you can just say, okay, why are they telling me that? What is the reason for it? Let me look at that and see if it's something that I should really go and change my idea, drop the idea, or continue with the idea. So consider that. And every time you talk about it, okay, what is this that I'm learning about my idea? What is something that I did not consider? Think about those things. And the biggest of all, whoever gave you feedback, whether it's good or bad, they took the time to give you feedback. So being polite and saying thank you is going to be something that you can develop as a good characteristic. So I told you about validation, right? Validation is not, a feeling. It's basically evidence from the real world. And by the way, just because you have validation doesn't mean your solution will work. You're only validating whether the problem exists. And the problem exists in the way that you have thought of that problem. And that is something that so the feeling, I think this is a good idea, is not a great thing, right? My friends, my classmates, my college, everybody said yes, they would use it. Sorry, that's not good. Yeah, if you think about it, it's so clear, logical, it makes sense. Sorry, that doesn't work. And there's somebody else doing it, so there must be demand, so I will also do it. Again, that doesn't work. Real people confirm the problem, right? One person was very clear and frustrated or really upset with this, and therefore they want to share this. You've identified a clear customer segment. Girls who are going to a particular college in a particular city, studying this particular program, and those are the ones that is my target, right? You can look at, okay, Andhra University, School of International Business, BBM, first year, and the females in that first year. or even more specific, you can say all the people from outside of India, foreigners who are studying in that particular first year in that particular program, they're the ones who I'm going to address, and they're the girls who I'm going to address. Okay? Because, I mean, one thing could be that they don't get the outfits that they use on outside India are not something that they're able to use in India. So you are solving that problem for them, maybe. Yeah, and whatever they're doing as a solution to the problem, you know that they're doing it, but they're not happy with that solution. It's just a workaround. It's not really 100% fixing what they're looking at. So when it comes to feedback, I'll give you things later, but basically clarity about the problem, specific customers that have been identified, evidence of the validation, how many interviews, who answered, what's the solution and how relevant is the solution, and then the feasibility and what are the next steps, and you would have the rating. Okay, so let's do this afterwards. I think the printers is so part A is something that I believe you can start working on. Whatever I said earlier, showed on the screen. What is your problem? Write it in the form of a really short story. My customer is unable to get medicine on time because it's not available in the store, right? The waste that is happening in apartment buildings, that's not being collected and segregated properly. Every day I see that trash cans are being, filled with all kinds of waste mixed with one another. There are Radha makes toys in a small village near Araku, but she's not able to sell those toys to anybody outside of that place, and therefore she's only getting 50 rupees per toy or 100 rupees per toy. And if she has access to the market, she might be able to sell it for even 200 or 300, something like that. And then specific customer, make sure that mention a customer or customer segment. And if you have conversations that you had and you don't have enough evidence from those conversations, or you did not have the conversations, then leave that empty and fill that in as quickly as possible, so that you have enough evidence for your problem. And then what is one question that you still don't have an answer to? hope you're filling out only part A. Did any of you go to part C by chance? Only part A, right? How many of you would like to come up here and pitch based on what you filled out in part A? Please raise your hands. Nobody? Okay. Well, if you don't have that, then after you finish part A, part B and part C, you will have to fill out outside of this classroom, outside of this session, because you will pitch. Okay. So then what I would okay. Since Pandana is the only one who wants to come and pitch, Pandana, come give that your document to somebody else who will fill it in, part B, and give you that answer. Don't give it to your friend because she will be biased. Give it to somebody else. Okay, Kaushik. So, comes Pandana. Yeah. Actually, you would need. Do you need that, or can you speak without that? Okay. Then that's fine.
First, imagine you have traveled to a house in 90s or 80s. It'll be surrounded with many traditional artworks and crafts. And each product you see near your house is filled with a story and is crafted by an artisan who may spend generations learning that art. And just look around the place you are right now. It's filled with modern products and with no art forms related to it. So I want to create a bridge connecting modern customers who want authentic handmade products and traditional artisans who has been doing that work since generations. Instead of directly jumping into an app connecting them both, I want to first create an Insta page showing their journey, the story behind their art forms, and then create a website connecting them and starting small scale, and then create an app which have features like heritage site where the story behind the products that they explain, and AI room recommendations where you can scan a room and AI could suggest the products which are available in the websites, and you can also see the artisans' profiles and their previous work, and can have an inspirations on that and get your products customized. Sir, I missed that step. So I just
Okay. How are you going to make it happen?
first I'll be creating an Insta page and then interview the artisans and sell their story, because instead of directly selling their products, and after that I'll be having a website with their profiles. And
I'm glad at the end of it, towards the end of the 8th session, we have at least one person who will come.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Give your speech to somebody so that they can give you feedback. Yeah.
So so I have registered this program, and I think it's around that time. On the very first day, I was going back to my home. I came here through bus. There is this AC bus. I have to pay 400 every day. So I thought, why should I have to pay 400? So that day I decided to use railways, like go in a train. So it's like it costs much lesser. So that day when I was traveling in the train, I could barely find a seat for myself, and luckily I did. So while I was like just sitting in my place and looking around, I saw this samosa seller. What he was doing was like basically two samosa sellers. One guy was trying to there is this heritage bucket, like this heritage plastic box where in the companies they keep the packets and they deliver it. So he's having that box in that without any, like of course there is no paper under the samosas or anything. In the bare box, he's just keeping those samosas, carried it into the train, and he was transferring it to the bucket, to the aluminum bucket. And yeah, he did all that, and afterwards he started carrying it on his head, and he started asking people whether they want to buy samosas. And when like a couple decided to eat samosas, they asked him to give to like 3-4 samosas, and what he had to, like the bucket he's carrying with him, on his head, he has to drop it down. He has to like again take a paper, use his bare hands again, and take out the samosas and give them to the couple. He has to take back money. He has to give them whatever the change, and he has to again carry it on his head. So I think he did it like 5-6 times in that compartment alone. So I was wondering why he had to do that. And there could be something I could bring a solution for that. Not just that, tea seller, though it's nearly night, a tea seller decided to come and sell the tea, and he has to just carry it in, like he just carries it like this. He doesn't even carry it on his head, and he has to keep it below and do the same process, go through the same process as the samosa seller. And I was just more wondering why can't I come up with a solution which could help these people. Should I go with the solution? So, like, why can't I make something which could take this weight off from the sellers, or maybe create something, build something which can transfer this weight into like to their hips or their back instead of their hands and their head. That's something I came up with. But I'm left with this particular question as to how do I make them use my alternative? Why would they use my alternative? What should I make them to use my alternative? That's something I'm still left with as it is.
What's your name?
James.
Good morning everyone. Good morning sir. My name is Kaushik Vishwas. Shall I ask one question? How many you did ecotourism or like ecotourism? Okay, forget about this. Anyone like to make tour some natural places? Almost everyone like this, right? So when you visit that places, you bring something traditional things from there. Like in RKBs, we saw some craft in there. And if we visit in Araku, everyone preferred coffee in Araku, right? So when you bring this coffee or craft in your home, any of your relative asks you where you get it, but why you not bring another for me? You ever faced any of question like this? Your smiley face said that it's yes, right? So here is the creative who comes to solve this problem. When you visit that Araku or RKBs, you also face that any problem like plastic waste. Yeah. So creative Guru want to solve these two problems. First is this plastic waste, and second one is the craft. So Creative Guru is a social enterprise who convert this plastic waste to a traditional craft, like a bottle. This bottle, when it's a think as a one-used bottle. When I throw it in beach side or when I was make on tour, after drinking water, I throw it out. Creative Aru what did? Creative Aru collect these plastics and then convert into a art piece through those tribal area artisan who are never appreciated. We appreciate them to make this craft and we make marketplace for them because when they create those things, they have not used market access. We give them that market access so that they can sell it in more profitable and it's also affordable to everyone and accessible to everyone. They can get this craft or that's if you want to buy, you need to go Araku while he can buy it in Vizag. We want to solve this problem. So our problem type is one is environmental and another is livelihood gap. Environmental is a single-use plastic that we are converting into art piece and livelihood gap is women and artisans who are staying in tribal area. They have no employment. They are facing unemployment. When they comes to work for that, they also opportunity of employment. So what Creative Aru did? Creative Aru collect this plastic and clean it and slaughtering, then give it to artisans who are trained by Creative Aru. After Creative Aru providing some modern craft idea, because in this traditional craft idea there is something all are like similar. There is no modernize. Creative Aru give them train how to make it modernize. Then they give it to supply chain or sales chain. So what we did? Plastic waste, artisan skill, home decor, then it will be show impact. Now we can come to our market. Our early stage is WhatsApp and Instagram channel and also in college campus. Because we saw in college campus like youth like us, we are affectionate to bought craft and we want to gift someone. Then our primary stage is in second tier city because we saw in second tier city that craft item is more expensive for only people think that home decor, premium home decor only for tier 1 city. But as we make it from waste, so it will be affordable and it also accessible to tier 2 cities people. And our secondary stage is pan India online sale and boutique house. We also target some cafe because cafe when we cafe owners want to decorate his cafe like a story. So we target this cafe to sell this product because we want to realize those our customers that it's not made from waste. These products are all carrying on story. All products have their own story. What we will achieve greatly? We will achieve the lakhs of plastic bottles in from landfill to craft. Then 200 plus artisan paying for this craft, 50 plus community collect driving and 50% of profit. As Creative Aru is a social enterprise, so we use 50% of our profit to train and to develop their livelihood of these tribal artisans. So this is our this is my business idea. In this chapter, Creative Aru, we make this waste plastic bottle to artisan hand and make it a beautiful. Thank you everyone.
Thank you. now that we are done with that, let me quickly walk you through this. We have, if you truly go and do these things, by the way, first, Spandana, Jayant and Kaushik, good job. I'm glad that I thought we will go with 0 pitches. Jayant, we'll go with 0 pitches, but we at least had 3. Hopefully the rest of you will be motivated to also go and work on whatever you are working on and complete every single worksheet, because if you do that, then you would have finished the validation of your idea, you would have done the customer conversations, tested your assumptions so that you are ready for the next stage, which is a proto run. We help you take a validated idea and we move you towards a prototype or a minimum viable product, so that you can then start selling it in the market and generating revenue. Okay? So by the time the proto run is over, or within a few weeks after that, you should have a prototype or some kind of a mock-up that's ready. As of now, for the 3 of you, I would first have suggested, at least for 2 of you, I wrote it down, some kind of a rough sketch of what your solution will look like. At least one of your products, and in terms of your Instagram, you're getting started with Instagram, how are you going to go about it? And again, one of the artisan's products. Some sketch, again, even a photograph would be fantastic, but a sketch also would be nice. And once you do that, then from there, you're going to move into the incubation stage. There is an IE cell that's being created, and a hub already exists. So you can come here and you can basically get started with incubate your startup, so that you can take what is a very small, tiny baby and come out of, graduate from here, where you're building a thousands, lakhs, crores of rupees startup. Okay? So when you have your, one of the things that we would like you to have by the time you finish, so the last part I believe is there, the part C would have this, most parts of this. Okay? You have your problem, you have your validation evidence, you have your customers, you have your key assumptions, your concept of your solution, and what are your next steps. And whatever you did as a pitch, you would talk about your real customers, people that you talk to, real people, what exactly or who exactly is the customer, what did they say in one clear sentence, your idea in one clear sentence, not 2 minutes, not 3 minutes, nothing like that, in one clear sentence, right? I am going to be the Amazon for rural artisans, is what you're going to be talking about. I am going to be making, I don't know, this is a stretch, but I am going to be the Tesla for, trade vendors, something of that sort. Yeah, and you are honest about what you still don't know, because there are things that companies don't know and they keep learning, and you are listening and you are curious, right? Make sure that your pitch is not a sales pitch because you don't have anything to sell yet. Make sure that you understand that nobody is expecting a product right now, and rather than false confidence, some kind of an uncertainty. I'm not sure yet. I've got the validation, I know the assumptions, but I still have some doubts, right? And then once you have that, then when you come and say, okay, I want to apply for Proto Run, you will be asked submit your pitch and maybe even do a pitch presentation. So you'll have to do that. and try it out with your friends, try it out with people that you know as your audience. So finally, for the entire program, what we have is that we hope you understood that validation is evidence because you talked to real people and got real inputs, and therefore you're moving forward. You have a clear idea of your customer and the solution that you're providing to that customer. Now, who is your customer? You have to be a lot more specific than where you are, right? Is it a rich family? Is it a poor family? Is it middle class? Is it in a town or is it in a city or a village? Is it somebody who is working and therefore they have a lot of money? Is it a working couple? Is it a bachelorette? Who are they? That kind of a clarity. And any feedback that you got, especially the feedback that you see from me, right? Don't take it as a discouragement. I am giving you feedback based on what you told me, and use that to either go back and understand your problem better or come up with a better solution. And last but not the least, this is just the beginning of your journey as a startup entrepreneur. Some of you, by the way, there is a very high possibility that you would drop everything after this, become busy with your college, and go work on things related to your college stuff, and not really do anything about whatever we discussed here for 1 to 5 years. But after that, it might suddenly hit you, and you might say, hey, all of these people, are doing some things, and I have a solution which I think, or I've identified a problem that's really deep, and I need to fix that. Because if I fix this, I would save lots and lots of lives. And saving just one life is a big thing. Saving lots of lives is a really big thing. And so let me go back and work on this solution. Could be something that is there. I could extend the career of so many vendors who don't have to carry and hurt their back and therefore struggle by coming up with a better vending machine or a better device that they can use. Right? So things like that you would we would like you to do this at some point of time once you're done. I'm not going to ask you to do it now, but whenever you're ready, in the group that you're all in, please post your one idea brief, and then we'll take it from there. Whenever we have applications open for Protarun, you will be informed and you can take it from, you can apply, and then we'll see what, how many people we can accommodate. And there are lots of events that happen in at Ahab and outside, and many of them are captured in our Startup Saturdays group. And also TiE Vizag does a whole bunch of events that again are captured in the Startup Saturdays group. But some of them might show up in on LinkedIn or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Follow TiE Vizag on that, follow Eve Incubation on social media, and you'll be able to get something there. TiE Vizag LinkedIn page could be a good place to start. Okay? So, thank you very much for participating. Some of you have been extremely regular and attended, at least I have seen you attend every session that I was there. So thank you for that. Thank you for participating seriously, even though you don't do the homework that I give you. But we truly appreciate that you made sure that, I told you right at the beginning, there were 61 or so applicants who signed up, and 24 or 28 that showed up on the first day. but you know, you, basically you 13 that are here, the 13 of you stuck around and you were here till the last day, and we appreciate that you've done that. It shows that you have some desire to move forward. I would only encourage you, I can't push you, you are yourself. I would only encourage you to not drop things from here and take things forward. Okay? Any questions or comments? By the way, just a quick thing. How many, let me hear from all of you. How did you find this program? Was it useful? Was it useless? What did you learn? One thing that you learned that you will remember. And if you can tell us one thing that we can improve on, that will be great also. Right? So, since these three have been participating and they pitched, we will give a chance to others and then go back to Jayant, Spandana and Kaushik afterwards. So the rest, we'll start from you.
I have learned how to make a problem statement and how to analyze it. And from taking feedbacks, improving our disadvantages and advantages of the product to building.
Okay. That's what you learned? Okay. Anything that we should improve? Okay. You next.
So I came to know that business also need emotions to get real problem statements from conversations. And I would like to move on this movement problem statement and idea to forward. I will work on it.
Okay.
I learned how the entrepreneur works, and not only the idea of because influence the business, it's also the work we do in field work. It learns many things, learns like how it going to implement the plan to your idea works, and like I learned that communicating with the people and getting the feedback from them.
Okay. Anything that we should improve? Go ahead.
Actually, the initial stage we started with the basic or initial idea and ended up with a different one. Through this process, I know how to validate an idea and how to end up to find a solution and how does it work.
Okay. You too. Anything to improve?
Actually, not to improve, but what I came to struggle in the initial stage to find out the problem.
Okay.
Every time I am finding a problem, I am ending up with coming up with a solution. If something is a problem for me, I am coming up with a solution without any validation.
Yeah. Well, now you learned that you need to validate. Okay. Okay. Good. You.
I have gained some knowledge and I got to know how to work
Tell
on.
me one bit that you get of knowledge. Something specific.
On how to work on a solution, a problem,
Okay.
and get a solution, and to work on ideas,
Okay.
and to research more about things, and mainly regarding the communication that I've learned. And so I want to step out first.
Yes. Future
Which I
one.
didn't do.
Yeah. So do it. Okay. Thank you.
Sir, I learned that we always rush into a solution, so we need to analyze more in the problem to see how the problem is, does it reach to the customers, how will it be profitable to the business.
Yeah.
So we need to like look into more into the problem than rushing into it.
Good, okay. Anything to improve? Yeah.
So we are here actually because of a link posted in our college group by our PO and Madam. So we are here to learn something. So I learned from this all 8 sessions is that the startup not only need an idea but we have to identify the problem first, and after identifying the problem we need to validate it, so then find the solution. That's what I
Okay, thank you. Jen?
Sir,
You can sit and talk.
when I came to the program, I didn't have much expectation as to what I'm wanting to learn, but what I will learn. I know, yeah, there will be basics of entrepreneurship, startups and everything, but more than the slides, more than the presentation, what I have liked is the knowledge base the mentors have, and what the conversations we had with the mentors that meant much more to me, and also the presentations, also the slides. They removed some of my some of the blocks I have faced myself, like certain words that I don't know, and I just saw them on the screen and I just realized, okay, this is the word I'm looking for, this is the thing. And yeah, by the 8th program, by the 8th session, instead of, I think I have made a good decision that I came here not just to have a certificate, but I think over the time I have learned, I think I should focus on something, focus on a problem that I can solve and make it useful to me in my life.
Okay. Did you say Rajahmundry or Kakinada? So, I don't know how many of you feel this way, but I am like super impressed with Jayant because he has come every single day that we had the session, traveling 3 or 4 hours all the way from Kakinada to here, spending lots of money and going back again 3 or 4 hours. You know, I don't know how he has, when he has lunch, whether he gets lunch or he has to wait until he goes home. But it is amazing what you have shown. Your desire to learn is incredible, and I hope you always keep that, because that's a really good sign of somebody who, you know, really wants to is ready to struggle to move forward, and not just this is an example for all of us lazy people here, including me. So I am really impressed.
The first day I came here is because I have been just staying at the home meeting places. But over the time I have.
I'm glad you did that because it's really I see there are people who inspire us, and every single one of us has one good teacher or a parent or somebody, a friend, a cousin, an uncle, a relative who, you know, inspires us, and we feel like, hey, I should either be like them or accomplish something like them, and so on. And what I did a while back, and I'm trying to do again, is all the people who surround me. I once made a list of these are the good qualities. What is one good quality of this person that I know? Right? Write that down and say, I wish I could pick up that quality. And so I've tried to work on that, not, you know, putting a lot of time and energy into it, but at least subconsciously. But making the list was the most important thing. And I realized that now I need to do that again. And maybe some of you might benefit from doing the same thing, because many times you look at, oh, I need to, my teacher or somebody senior is the one that is an inspiration. But you'll find out that there's inspiration right there in front of you. There's somebody who is struggling at home with lots of difficulties, but show up still to college, and they have a smiling face, overcoming all of those challenges. They never even know that they have those struggles, right? So, just a suggestion for you. What about you?
So from these 8 sessions, I have learned that how to think differently and not directly go to the idea that we have. We should get the information from the others also and gather some information. Then we should go to it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
At initial stages of this session, I didn't know what a startup means. Coming to each and every session has taught me that each step has a different idea, a different perspective of learning things. And a startup, when you think of a problem, you generally jump into a solution. That doesn't require. You need to first assess it, analyze it, and then go through all the solutions, and then the pick best out of it. So that's what I do.
Okay. Perfect.
So when before coming here, my thought was that for business we need gather much funding, we need investor to start any startup or any business. But after joining this session, I realized that for start any business or startup, we no need to find this funding or investor. First, we need to find problem. Then validate that problem and jump into solution. Then we will make a great startup.
Good. Okay. Great. Okay. Go ahead.
Actually, I don't know anything about this problem or anything, but later I get to know about how to validate problem statements and everything. And I also very glad to work with Pandana. I got it by coming to this project.
Yeah, thank you. So, did you not know Spandana before? So you met her over here and you became friends? Okay. Where are you studying? Ah, and you, awesome. EC, okay. And you're not doing anything related to EC, and you're doing artisans and artwork. And why did you even join engineering? Never mind. Never mind. Anyway, what about you?
So actually I have joined engineering, but except that conventional career paths, I have been exploring everything else since first year. I have worked as a webinar manager, event planner, I have worked as social media intern,